Hey y'all, JS Creations Art Sanity here, and today I'm going to do a Bumblebee inspired checkers board game. So I'm starting off with my yellow pieces. I am using general use resin from the Epoxy resin store for this part, and my yellow is a mix of lemon yellow resin dye from Let's Resin and Bumblebee mica powder from Glitter Chimp. So I have all of that mixed into my resin, and I have you'll need about 140 mils of resin for this part here. So I filled up my playing pieces, and then I'm coming in and filling up my squares on the board. I will pour a little bit into the squares and then come back with my stick and kind of smooth it out and make sure that they're full. Now I found this is a lot easier than trying to use a pipette for this. I just don't have the patience for that. So just pour a little bit out into the squares, come back and with your stick and just kind of move and fill in those squares. Then I will hit it with my heat gun to get any bubbles, and I will cover this and let this cure before coming back and doing my black pieces. Now you don't have to wait until this is completely cured, but you do want to wait till your first set of resin is at least to the tacky point, just so that your two colors don't mix together. But like I said, I waited until this was completely cured before coming back and doing my black. My black is a mixture of black resin dye and charcoal black mica powder. I will have all of my supplies listed in the description below, so be sure to check that out. Again, I'm using about 140 mils for this part. Filling in my squares, coming back with my stick, push it around to make sure that I have enough. If I don't, pour a little bit more in to fill them up. I will fill up my playing pieces, hit all of this with my heat gun, cover it, and let it completely cure for 24 hours before doing the back on this. Now, on this board, there are the squares that are completely squared off, and that was my yellow pieces, and that's what I started with, and that's what I would suggest doing. My black, you can see, kind of went around the edge of the whole thing. I would do those squares as your second color. So this is completely dry the next day here, or completely cured the next day. I have a mixture of all of these glitters. Again, I will have them all listed out in the description below. I just mixed those glitters up until I got a mixture that I liked. Mixed it in about 8 ounces of resin and filled in the back of my playing board. Hit it with my heat gun, and I will cover this and let it cure before demolding. So here it is 24 hours later. I'm going to demold my board, and I am going to put some bee holographic glitter on here. So here it is. I will use my Mod Podge to put over the top of this board. Now I'm only going to put the bees in the yellow squares, but I just go ahead and cover the whole thing with Mod Podge and then get my bees and just stick them in the yellow squares. So I'm trying to get off any excess. You don't need a very thick layer. Getting my bees, just sticking them on there. And I will continue doing this until I have one in every yellow square. Then I will let this completely dry, let the glue completely dry, and I will come back and do a layer of the Mod Podge on top of this, just to make sure that those bees are secure on there. And then again, let it completely dry, before putting the top coat on. Now, I do mess this up. You'll see here in just a second. I don't know what in the world I was thinking. I had a couple of pieces to top coat, and the other pieces I actually needed to sand before I did that. So I started doing that, and I was absent-minded and just grabbed this board and started sanding it and messed it up. You can see some of my bees I sanded off of there. So what I should have done was put another layer of Mod Podge, fixed my bees, put new bees on there, let that dry, and then do a top coat. Well, I didn't do that. I went ahead and just did my top coat here, taped off my back, put my top coat on, and figured I would just put the bees on the top of this resin. Oh, this was such a pain. My bees kept wanting to move and float. I was trying to get them, right on top of the other bees, so you really can't tell that there's, multiple layers of bees on there. So I really had to watch this and keep pushing them down and readjusting them as the resin dried. And of course, doing that, I messed up this coat of resin. So I did have to come back in and put another coat of resin on top of that. And my top coat of resin I used is the liquid stone epoxy from KSResin. So I, finished putting my bees on there, let that all dry, and then I did come back in and put just a clear top coat of resin on top of those bees. Let that completely cure, and now I'm taking off my back. My back, you don't have to tape the whole thing. You could just tape the edges to catch your drips, but I have a tendency to grab the board with, my hand usually has resin all over it, and I'll get resin in the middle of my board somehow. So I've learned to tape the whole thing. Take the tape off, use your heat gun to go around the edges, loosen those drips, and it will pull right off of there. So here it is completely done, and I have decided to put some rubber feet on there. So I've got some 1/2-inch rubber feet that I'm just going to stick in the corners, and then one in the middle. These feet are just to help protect the surface you're playing on. You could put corkboard, felt, any kind of backing you want, just to kind of help protect the surface that you're playing on. So I'll put my pieces on here, and that's going to be it for this board. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this one. And until next time, see ya.